Okay. Well, welcome everyone to our July edition of Encore's Arts and Health Masterclass series. We are very excited to offer this series each month, and it is sponsored generously through a grant from the DC Commission of Arts and Humanities. And we are very excited to have this evening Dan Cohen with us. He is the founder of Right to Music, and which is an amazing program. So he's going to tell you all about it and what his research has shown about the importance of music and familiar music and music that we enjoy, and how that can help us. Sorry, I'm just letting folks in from the waiting room, and how that can help us age healthy and help with cognition and engagement with folks through the lifespan. So a little bit about Dan. I'm going to read, if you have not been to his website, righttomusic.com, I'm going to read you his story, which is, of course, written from his point of view. It says, listening to my transistor radio tucked under my pillow when I was 7 years old, I was on cloud nine. I reveled in catchy songs and lyrics and that clandestine peek into the world of teen romance and adult drama. Little did I understand then that I was connecting to one of the most powerful and beautiful aspects of being human. Music is many things to many people, but it is one of the most essential ways that we all communicate, express feelings, join our voices, move, and find joy. Like most, I took music for granted as I was growing up. I still played the 60s songs of my teen years as my audio devices improved from their transistor radio to my first compact stereo system. Music was always with me, whether in summer with my friends at Jones Beach or in my rooms and apartments throughout college and graduate school. After earning my MSW from Adelphi University, I began organizing volunteer and community service programs for a consortium of colleges and universities, connecting 2,000 students to 200 schools, healthcare, and other nonprofits. During the 80s personal computer boom, I transitioned to personal computer sales, providing training and support in new software applications. So that's where he brought, I think, two of his knowledge bases into one, and a passion, and he's going to tell you more about it. So I'm going to turn things over to Dan Cohen. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Great. Thanks so much, Marianne. Hi, everybody. And let me just get to my first page. Start up. Okay. Okay. Can you see my slide okay? Marianne?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, super.
But
So
I can't see you.
you can't see me?
No.
Well, let's see. Can you see me, Marianne?
I can. That might be however someone has their your personal monitor set.
Okay. Okay. So I'll get going. Yes, my name is Dan Cohen. I'm glad to be with you tonight to talk about how to really improve the quality of life for people who living with dementia and their caregivers. All of us, there's an interesting number out there. If you were to try to guess how many songs you've listened to in your life, they actually have a number in the US. The average number of songs we've listened to in our whole life total is 1.3 million songs, which is sort of a mind-boggling number. It's based on 3 minutes per song average. And also in the US, on average, people listen to music for 2 hours a day on average. So that's probably how we get to that 1 million songs. We listen, maybe we'll listen a little less as we get older, or maybe we listen more, but those are the statistics. So my background, being, sort of after the piece that I wrote for Marianne and such, is in 2006, I was listening to the radio, and the journalist was saying, iPods are ubiquitous. Everybody has them. Everybody has their own music. And I thought, well, didn't sound really true. That, yeah, a lot of young people had them, but older people, maybe some, but, many others not. And certainly not in healthcare facilities or nursing homes and such. It just didn't seem like, they would take the time to give people their own music, the way we control our own music. And so I called up a nearby nursing home and I said, I know you already have plenty of music. You have karaoke and singing and live musicians and such come in. But can we see if there's any added value if we were to totally personalize music for people? And reconnect them to the music that they love. And they said, sure. And I came in as a volunteer and I came back every couple of weeks and I would set up sort of one person after another. And people would generally, light up to that. And so that got me going because I thought, well, music's nice. And I figured people in general would enjoy having music to listen to. But I was really surprised at the unexpected outcomes. And so, what we're going to talk about today is some of that. People face a number of difficulties. It's not sort of by accident that people lose access to their music. The music players, the way we get music, we no longer have. I mean, there's a little bit of a comeback for long playing records and albums. And then CDs and fine finger dexterity. How do you control some of these devices that are pretty small? Or some people with cognitive decline can't communicate what music they want, or even that they want to listen to music. And so there's also a lack of awareness of how beneficial music can be for anyone living with dementia. Um, okay. So at home and in our healthcare system, music is really underappreciated and underutilized as a benefit. It sort of doesn't count, right? We have our medical system and we prescribe medications, and really there's not much else that would be helpful, especially for a disease like dementia, where there's well, tens of billions of dollars spent on a cure, but we're not there. And so people need help now, right? And so how are we gonna do that? Um, and what I learned after training professionals in more than 5,000 nursing homes and hospices and hospitals and caregivers at home is that music can have a pretty wide range of impacts. And even, music can have multiple benefits per person. As a result, everyone really deserves to have the opportunity to have their quality of life benefit from staying connected to their favorite music. So we know that there's no cure. And so our goal is to maximize quality of life for people who have dementia now. And music is probably the fastest way to get there, to change one's day. And so we need to prioritize music, which falls in this category of a pharmacological intervention, or really just a non-medicine, a non-pill intervention. So when music is properly applied, it benefits both the person with dementia and also their caregivers. Deloitte, the big accounting firm, just came out with a big report which said that it sort of defined, it looked at all the research already there on music, and it also looked at what's the return on investment if you're a hospital or a nursing home, because very often the challenge in a nursing home is for the people that sort of coordinate recreational activities, or the volunteers at a hospital, is that there's no, we don't need to do all that much because we can't spend the money because we're not generating revenue, as opposed to other services where there is money coming in to reimburse a nursing home and such. So, but this Deloitte report says that actually for every dollar expended, the we get back 200, I'm sorry, for every dollar expended, we get back $2.40 in savings. So, and that it helps with a number of things. We're going to spend some time to go through where it helps and why it helps. So music works most of the time. There's no guarantee that it will work for an individual. There are, however, ways to increase the likelihood of success, and that's what we're really going to be talking about today. So our goals today, we're going to talk about how music improves the quality of life for people with dementia. What are the benefits? What are the challenges? And how to be successful when using music? How do we adapt this for ourselves and for those around us? So first I want to start with, well, some questions about our own music situation. How often do we listen to our own, do we each listen to our own favorite music? Um, how much control do we have over it? Is it every day? More than once a day? Do we leave the music on in background? What's today? How much did you listen to music today? Did you enjoy listening to music today? Was it somebody else's choice of music that you were listening to? And we're all our own experts on music, so we don't typically think of music as not just joyful, but also perhaps therapeutic. I mean, sort of different ways to look at it. We love music. We love our favorite songs or pieces, and we um, also can view it as therapeutic for people that have declined cognition, and it can help them in different ways. And so your frequent source, where are you getting your music? Do you have a radio? Do you just sing? Do you hum to yourself during the day? Do you get it off TV? Do you watch YouTube videos with music of your favorite artists from whenever? So, where are you getting it? There are many places now to listen to music, live music. We can go to a concert, right? We can go to a musical. Of course, you have, well, do you have all of your favorite music in one place? So that's a trick question because, typically most of us listen to music. We may have some music in different, it's available at home in some way, but it may not be all in one place. Um, we may not even have access to most of the songs we loved during our life. Um, all those one-hit wonders that we heard 50 years ago and we don't remember until they somehow we come across the path, and then it's just so wonderful to hear them. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to show you this is a video of one person with dementia. It's about, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes long, and it did go viral. We'll talk about that a bit, but here we go.
I have one resident that barely opened her eyes. She didn't respond. As much as I tried, I knew her for 2 years. No matter what I tried, massage wouldn't work, nothing worked. But when we got introduced to the iPods and the family told me the things that she liked, it was amazing once we put the iPod on her. She started shaking her feet. She started moving her head. Her son was just amazed. Okay, can we stop? Because now I'm getting all I'm seeing her all over again. Hi, Papa. Hi, Papa. How you doing?
I'm all right. Fine. Wait.
Who am I?
I'm on. Wait a minute. I don't.
Okay, it's Cherry. How long has he been in the nursing home? Approximately 10 years.
And you.
He was having seizures, and my mother couldn't handle him at home. Of course, it affected me greatly because he was always, fun loving, singing, every occasion he would come out with a song, no matter where he was.
I remember as a child, he used to walk us down the street, me and my brother, and he would stop and do singing in the rain. He would have us jumping and swinging around poles. He was, you know, he was good. He was always into music, you know, always loved singing, dancing.
His name is Henry Dreyer,
Uh-huh.
and I'm looking more or less for religious music for him.
Okay.
Because he enjoys music and he always quoting the Bible. So I'd rather have that for him.
We first see Henry inert, maybe depressed, unresponsive, and almost unalive.
Henry,
Yeah,
Henry,
yes, y'all.
I found your music. You want your music now?
Up to you, okay?
Let's try your music, okay? And then you tell me if it's too loud or not.
Then he is given an iPod containing, we know, his favorite music. And immediately he lights up. His face assumes expression. His eyes open wide. He starts to sing, and to rock, and to move his arms, and he's being animated by the music.
And he used to always sit on the unit with his head like this. He didn't really talk to much people. And then when I introduced the music to him, this is his reaction ever since.
The philosopher Kant once called music the quickening art, and Henry is being quickened. He's being brought to life.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the music for 1 second, okay? Just to ask you a few questions. Okay? I'm gonna give it back to you. Okay.
The effect of this doesn't stop, because when the headphones are taken off, Henry, normally mute and virtually unable to answer the simplest yes or no questions, is quite voluble.
Henry,
Yeah,
do you like the iPod? Do you like the music you're hearing?
yes.
Tell me about your music.
Well, I don't have one, I mean.
Do you like music?
Yeah, I'm crazy about music. And you play beautiful music, beautiful sound,
Did
beautiful.
did you play music when you did you like music when you were young?
Yes, I went to big dances and things.
What was your favorite music when you were young?
Well, I guess, well, Cab Calloway was my #1 band guy I like. The holy, the holly, the hilly, the holy, the milly, the holly, the ah.
Yeah, what was your favorite Cab Calloway song?
Oh, I'll be home there for Christmas. Oh, you can count and plan on me with plenty of snow, mistletoe, present, wrap around your tree. Ow.
So in some sense, Henry is restored to himself. He has remembered who he is, and he's reacquired his identity for a while through the power of music.
What does music do to you?
It give me the feeling of love. No man, figure right now the world need to come into music, singing. You got beautiful music in. Beautiful, oh, lovely. And I feel the band of love, the dream. Lord came to me, made me holy. I'm a holy man. So he gave me this sound. I'll just say, I meet you. Let me see. Rosalie, won't you love me? Rosalie, won't you be sweet and kind?
With this beautiful new technology, you can have all the music which is significant for you in something as big as a matchbox or whatever. And I think this may be very, very important in helping to animate and organize and bring a sense of identity back to people who are out of it. Otherwise, music will bring them back into it, into their own personhood, their own memories, their own autobiographies.
Okay. Okay. So Henry, and I don't know how clear it was, but here's a gentleman who spent his time he was in this nursing home for 8 years, and the time was spent basically head down and not interacting with people. And so he had a good reaction to the music. In fact, when I went in with the filmmaker, I was fortunate enough to get a filmmaker just for an afternoon. Um, he when the filmmaker started asking him questions, you saw the little subtitle saying, just ask yes or no questions. That was me worried because they said, this guy really doesn't talk. So, and here the filmmaker's asking, well, what about this? And what about that? I got really nervous. And so I had no idea he was going to react in this way. The family was thrilled. The staff was thrilled. Everybody standing around, the other residents sort of stopped and listened because this is somebody they knew, but they never saw this side of him. Um, and uh, and so you can't make something go viral. But within 48 hours, there were 20,000 people an hour watching this globally. It's now the most viewed piece of video around Alzheimer's and dementia of any kind globally at 50 million plus views. And so I asked myself, and a lot of people were commenting, but why did it get such a response? And I think it's because people generally, when it comes to dementia, do not have hope, because the message that they get from society, not always, but way too often, is that when someone's diagnosed, sometimes that diagnosis happens very well, but very often people report that they're told, well, get your affairs in order kind of thing, and there's no hope. Unlike things like, cancer, where they give you a binder and here are support groups and, make the best of it and, hear all the positive things about it. That's not the case with dementia. It's changing slowly, but that's not the case. So this film said that these people they're still there, and that we can still reach them, and the music is a path, and you can make something happen here. You can get a response, help, as Oliver Sacks says, he was restored to himself. Now that's a temporary phenomenon, but if you have a prescription for a medication and it's once a day, well, if you just take it once and never take it again, it's temporary. But if you take it every day, it does the job. And the same thing with music. If you have it every day, the right music, well, it may be temporary, but it's going to just concatenate, put together all of these music sessions with music that you love, and it's going to have a significant effect. Yvonne, who was helping him with his music, she updated his playlist every 90 days. You don't want to get bored with the same music. Just, if any of us has or should have some form of dementia, today we might get bored if I had a list of 10 songs to listen to every day. Well, I'd get bored pretty quick, and so would I if I had dementia with those 10 songs. So we need to have, number one, at least to me, 150 songs, and you want to update that list every 90 days. So just a little bit about that. Let's go on. So I really give credit to the artists. These artists, musicians, and many, many more, of course, they had no idea that with their hit songs, it would go beyond. It's sort of like, people when we were young, we'd have our music and we would never have imagined that 50 years hence, perhaps, that stadiums would be filled with people our age, all the people who were in the 1960 or earlier, were attending concerts, and now they can again. And these folks have no idea, also from the point of view of people with dementia, that their music is going to have extra benefit and value for them. And so here is just even some I've added to the people. You have just different genres represented, and there's just so many musicians, groups, bands, composers. Everyone has favorites, and let's just make sure to keep them in the lives of for everyone, regardless of their physical or cognitive state. So I want to run through a bunch of these benefits, right? So, and we're going to divide them up into sort of different sort of categories and such. But there are just so many ways that people benefit. When you take a medicine, the medicine is targeted to one specific, typically one specific aspect of a condition. When you have music, it morphs into having multiple benefits. It's sort of multifaceted, and we'll talk about that. So there are things that happen that you want to, and there are other things, other benefits that are going to happen that you didn't really expect. So starting off with, I'm going to sort of categorize three categories of the challenges with dementia that music might help with, right? And so we have the physical, the psychosocial, sort of, behavioral stuff, and environmental. And I'll explain what that means more. But we'll start off sort of running through some of these that are often associated with dementia, not all at once, certainly. People are all affected in different ways. There are different types of dementia, and everybody's sort of roadmap's a little bit different. And falls, I had no idea that dementia increases the risk of falls. And one way we know for sure that that's true is that many people are on antipsychotic medications, usually to calm them down. These are off-label. They're really only meant for people with Huntington's disease or Tourette's syndrome, but they're not meant if somebody's agitated. Oh, my mom hit me last night, and she was so agitated, and doc says, well, we'll give her an antipsychotic. Well, that's not an appropriate use of an antipsychotic. Why was she distressed? Why was she upset or he upset? And let's get to the underlying reason for that. Are they in pain? Is it they're bored, or so they weren't able to communicate what they needed? And so, we can solve these things because antipsychotic medications are really affect the brain in not so good ways. So we want to, and the federal government over the last 15 years has really been requiring nursing homes to reduce the use of antipsychotics from 15, 20 years ago to 1 out of every 2 residents in a nursing home to now it's probably around 15% of the people in the nursing home. But they really want to get it, the appropriate is like 1 or 2%. So it's still sort of overused for that. But my point is that antipsychotic medications have a direct correlation. If you're on an antipsychotic, you're more likely to fall because you're less clear of mind and of your environment. So if you can reduce antipsychotic medications, you're not going to fall so much. But even aside from that, you benefit just by having the music. And as I talked to different people, one nursing home where a woman was in charge of collecting the data every month because they have to report to the federal government how many people fell. Hospitals have to do the same thing. They get penalized if too many people are falling. It's a big issue, big expense for the government, and a big problem for the public. Just being clearer of mind, music helps people to be more alert. And so that's, a big part of it as well. And so in this nursing home, a woman said we had 38 people fall last month, and she was, or a couple of months beforehand, and then they gave a number of people their music, and then they went from 38 down to 8 people. And I said, well, and this person was like just overjoyed. And she said, this was the benefit of the music. And I said, well, how do you know there's a cause effect here? How do you know something else didn't intervene? She said, no, nothing intervened because she's had the same high level of falls basically for many months. And so that's the kind of story, and the research sort of backs this up, that you can reduce falling. Of course, you have to do the other things like making sure the rug, don't trip over a rug or a carpet or obstructions at home. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into reducing falls, but music is one of them. Pain, the research goes back many years. I mean, when I first started this in 2006, I saw the Advanced Journal of Nursing Practice, whatever, out of the UK. The front page article was, music helps reduce the perception of pain by around 20%. So it doesn't mean music and you don't feel pain, but music follows at some point the same pathway in the brain as pain signals. And so when you have music, you can reduce the perception of pain. One woman, and she had arthritis in her wrists, and she said when she's listening to her music, she doesn't feel the pain in her wrists. So, just giving you a sense. Speech and swallowing. Speech. I once was setting up a gentleman who his family told me what he liked, the music he liked, and he seemed very alert, but he was not able to communicate to me. So I put on the headphones, and the music started, and I came back about 20 minutes later, and he's very happy. I took off the headphones, and he says, "Thank you so much for this." And like what? He's talking to me, and I didn't understand it, and I certainly did not expect it. And then when I talked to a speech therapist, they said, "Oh yeah, we know that. Sometimes people who are unable to communicate and they mumble, they get a restoration of their articulation." And so that was pretty wild. Of course, this is sort of siloed information. The speech therapist knows, but did the family know? Did the staff know? Sort of there's this information out there by specialty that we don't always know. Um, Swallowing, very interesting, a nursing home in Wisconsin. Wisconsin rolled out all 400 of their nursing homes with giving people personal music in their homes. And one of those nursing homes tried a unique approach. Some people who have very advanced dementia and they can no longer swallow and they're on pureed food and they might choke on their food. Well, they gave them their music, about 15 minutes before eating, sometimes continuing while they're eating, and they found that they just didn't choke anywhere near as much. And the theory was they're just remembering kind of how to swallow or the rhythm of the music, the mechanism we really don't know, more research needed. But also their appetites increased by an average of 73%. The music just got them going, and maybe just in a better mood, or I just don't know what that is either. But they're associated. That's something that's been found multiple times. Huntington's disease is a disease where one of the aspects is losing control of your muscles, sort of very spasmodic kind of movements. And there's a nursing home in Australia. Actually, they experimented, used the music with someone who was in a chair, and they were sort of in the rehab room and sort of put the music on his head, and then he was able to throw like a volleyball kind of a ball back and forth with the staff, and it, they said it also helped his dignity, right? So he's able to do stuff that he wasn't able to do before, and also help with mood and such. Parkinson's disease is a disease that has to do with sort of our timing and how we walk, and how we move, and Parkinson's is related to dementia as well. And people, the music really helps them. And I'm going to put on a quick video. I'm actually going to leave this, and whoops, and go to this. Okay. And just, I'm going to turn off, is this going to do, nope, we're going to go right into it, I hope. Yep. Nope, we got the ad.
After months spending way too
Whoops. So hang on a second.
offered by over 80 celebrity chefs.
I got to hit the skip button. There you go. Sorry about that.
Hi, I'm Dr. Indre Viscontis, but my friends and students sometimes call me Dr. Dre. I'm a neuroscientist and a musician, and this is a quick look at what we know today about how music impacts our brains and bodies and how we can harness it to improve our health and well-being. Some of us had parents who forced us to take music lessons and made us practice even when we didn't want to. Mine certainly did, and now I make my kids do it too. But is it true that music lessons can make us smarter, happier, and better able to deal with the challenges of life? Let's see. First, try taking the standard cognitive test. Maybe you've seen it before. It's called the Stroop test.
I pulled up the wrong tape. I'm sorry. My apologies. Hang on a second. Let me find the right tape. I will do this. Mobility, I think this is it. Okay.
Hi, I'm Dr. Indre Viscontis, but my friends and students sometimes call me Dr. Dre. I'm a neuroscientist and a musician, and this is a quick look at what we know today about how music impacts our brains and bodies and how we can harness it to improve our health and well-being. In 1666, Dutch physicist Christian Huygens discovered that pendulums and clocks mounted to the same object eventually synchronized to one another. He explained this curious phenomenon by proposing that the pendulums transfer energy to one another via the mechanical vibrations they induce in the common object, and they synchronize when these vibrations cancel each other out. But maybe there was something else going on. If you've ever made a workout playlist, used music to boost your energy while running or in the gym, maybe you felt a similar effect, that you synchronize your movements to the beat. But what if your inner beat machine is stuck? That's in part what happens in Parkinson's disease, where cells that make dopamine, the neurochemical getting us going, are depleted, and patients have trouble starting movements. Like the case of Larry Jennings here with his physical therapist. See how hard it is for him to walk? His steps are labored, shuffling, and he often freezes or stops. His physical therapist heard that music can help, just like it gets us moving faster at the gym. So she plays one of his favorite songs, and watch how he takes a minute to find the beat, and then he's walking much more quickly with bigger steps, and it even looks like he might be enjoying it a bit. Now here comes my favorite part. Once he's really grooving, he not only no longer needs the walker, but he turns around and takes the lead. Now he's dancing, and it's no longer a physical therapy session, but a joyful moment of connection and fun. That's how music can even restore our dignity and humanity. We now know that beat perception involves many of the motor or movement networks in the brain, the same regions that are affected by Parkinson's disease. And we also know that music increases levels of dopamine in the brain, the movement molecule, and also the same neurochemical that motivates us and gives us feelings of pleasure. So for patients like Larry, music is a double whammy, helping them get moving by turning on their inner beat machine and making therapy fun in the process. After all, many people with Parkinson's who, despite their increased risk of falling, want a boogie just like the rest of us. If you like this video, check out soundhealth.ucsf.
Right. Okay. Just give me a second. Okay, so go on to the next slide. So psychosocial anxiety. Anxiety is huge. Appetite we talked about. Brain fog. As one gentleman with dementia explained to me, he will wake up and he's really disoriented, and he will turn on his music because it will help that fog dissipate and help him become more alert more quickly during the day. So brain fog is a real thing, a real description for that kind of situation. Delirium happens. My father, when he would go to the hospital, whatever speech he had left, within 2 hours in the hospital, it was gone. Just the nature of being in a strange environment, strange people, strange things happening to you, and people tend to get delirious sometimes pretty quickly. unless they are, you know, kept well hydrated, walk around, try to keep them sort of in context with what's going on around them. But music is a really important aspect of that, that it's familiar. I like to tell people in nursing homes, when you send somebody, all of a sudden in an ambulance to go to the hospital, sometimes people would become delirious as soon as they're being wheeled to the ambulance. They don't know what's happening, but if they have the social worker who sort of supports a number of people who are frequently going to the emergency department, and they have a go bag with their music player in it, and they put it right on them, and this way they have something that's familiar, something they enjoy to counteract and to help them grab onto, to hold on to their sort of um, emotional well-being while it's being challenged with this. Uh, Depression is huge in that Deloitte study. Depression was a reduced depression was the number one outcome that they found, that the 48% of the people had reduced depression from the music. Dialysis, I help folks in one dialysis center because the need was for people who have dementia, and then they go to dialysis. And, dialysis is one of those things where you're getting your blood purified, and you go maybe 3 days a week for 3 or 4 hours each time, and you got to sit there. And if you get agitated easily, I mean, so sometimes that was the concern. People to live had to stay still, and they gave them music to help calm them down. And also to others to help them with the boredom and such of the dialysis. So that's what the nurse in charge, that was her goal with using the music in dialysis. And loneliness, mood, socialization, music facilitates connection, and people are more social, and because they're in a better mood, so they're ready to be more social, and now they're not as lonely. And loneliness is really has negative impacts, right? So, and then environmental. So challenges, caregivers. Unfortunately, I met this woman who worked in a nursing home, and she had seven brothers, seven sibling brothers, and their mom had dementia, and she said that these seven brothers did not visit or help with their mother because she was not able to recognize them anymore. So it all fell on the daughter. And I'm saying this because there is a general stigma attached and a lack of understanding that the person's still there, and it's not like, oh, game over. So music can be helpful in this sense, because there have been studies that said people, when they go visit someone, maybe in a nursing home, somewhere else, 17% say they can't wait to get out of there because they don't know what to say. And when you have music in the room, then things, change. The person might start to talk, or if it's a song that everybody's familiar with, you can start singing, and it just gets things going. It loosens things up, and it changes the whole dynamic. Because we should not be avoiding our own relatives and friends out of fear, because it is them in there. Their emotional systems are the same, and engagement. Just to be able to enjoy one's day. I mean, in the CDC in 2015 did a study of people in nursing homes, and they said on average in a nursing home, people have 11 minutes of meaningful engagement per day. And in assisted living, it's 20 minutes of meaningful engagement per day. So the music can really, if it's meaningful to you and you're enjoying listening with others or by yourself, you could be enjoying a concert with others. If you pull out an instrument you used to play and you remember, you have that physical memory. I've seen people just shock everybody, walk up to an upright piano and just start playing at lunchtime, and everybody's shocked. And then it becomes a regular thing. Oh, please play. Or they roll them up to the piano. Go ahead, now play some more. And so, there are many opportunities for musical engagement. Medication, we want to see how much we can not replace medications. Often we require medications, but sometimes we can start with music, see how far we can get before we give them give someone an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety medication. Maybe the music could knock that down by a bit, because we know the fewer medications, the better, especially medications that have to do with how our brains and emotions and behavior work. Um, Transitions. So people use the music to help get through the day. Bathing without a battle, it's called. So sometimes people are resistant to being bathed, and so they use music ahead of time and get them in the mood to just to cooperate and have the music playing while they are bathing. Of course, you got to make sure it's waterproof and all that stuff, but and figure that out. Or going to a doctor's appointment, or going to visit relatives, or just that change. What is it going to take at home? Maybe you listen to the whatever stereo system you have, and then maybe for the road you have something that goes on the heads with headphones, and sort of change gears, and that really helps. One mother-daughter, the daughter was describing going to a doctor's office, and in the doctor's office, the last time they went, or an earlier time, and the mom had just got distressed, and it was just wasn't going smoothly, and so they had to leave, turn around, went back to the car, and drove home. And the next time, they brought mom's music, and when they parked, I mean, mom had the headphones on, had a good music playing, and then they were able to walk into the doctor's office. They were able to get their business done with the doctor, and leave. All, she was dancing in the waiting room, according to her daughter. So these are the kinds of ways we can help someone have a calmer, more enjoyable, normal, quote unquote, day. And visitors we talked about. And if anybody's any questions, Marianne, you could chime in if you have anything there. I'll keep going otherwise. Okay, so this British Sound Academy has measured sort of the impact of music from another perspective. How long does it take music to have a certain impact? And so in this case, to help us relax or not be so sad. That last one on the right, 82%, people felt it took 13 minutes for people to feel more peaceful and content, because that's a big complaint to people. They're worried. They're worried about their family. They're worried about their inability to be the way they used to be. 82% said they had a better night's sleep. Quality and quantity of sleep is a huge benefit for many people. 9 minutes, and 9 minutes to 2 out of 3 said they laughed more or felt happier. Wow, so that's great, because a lot of people who are inactive, right? Not engaged, and they're sitting maybe in front of a television, not so uncommon, and bored. And so, wow, it's possible for us to change that dynamic. And I like that 82% felt more in control of their life, because that's, dementia, people who have a diagnosis, they know what's going on. They're in the moment. The long-term memories are still very much intact. Short-term, maybe a week or two, or the day before, or 5 minutes before might be the initial challenge. And the music helps, as it's been described to me by people. They just, wow, they don't think about anything that would be bothering them, and so that's where that more control in life sounds. And in terms of sadness, people felt more emotionally stable. Wow, 87%, less overwhelmed. And were able to get through their sadness rather than stay in it. So one gentleman I met and I set up with his music, he said, he was just really depressed since his wife died. And he was not eating. He had sort of a failure to thrive. I mean, he was wasting away. His weight was low. And then when he had his music, they said, wow, he's been gaining weight. He's been in a better mood. He's talking to people again, and he's eating. And it just got him in touch with the positive memories in his life and such. And so that was the change. So here's another, it's a 1 minute video, and it shows that music is effective, or can be, right? Very often, regardless of the stage of dementia. So I'm going to show this.
I have one resident that really opened her eyes. She didn't respond. As much as I tried, I knew her for 2 years. No matter what I tried, massage wouldn't work, nothing worked. But when we got introduced to the iPods and the family told me the things that she liked, it was amazing once we put the iPod on her. She started shaking her feet. She started moving her head. Her son was just amazed. Okay, can we stop? Because now I'm getting all I'm seeing her all over again.
Okay. I'm going to skip through because time is going quickly. I'm just going to reference this. This is a New York City hospital system did a study of 100 people with advanced dementia. And in terms of falls, this was published in this publication on the upper right, the Journal of Neurorehabilitation. And they went from 12% of their residents falling to just over 4%. So, approximately a 2/3 reduction here as well. And also they had an issue with people fighting, and it just baselined out to zero. And so based on this and other things I've seen, people don't want to hurt themselves or hurt anybody else when they're listening to music and enjoying themselves. I'm going to skip this video. This was a study in California that was looking at the impact of personalized music. And so here were the results in terms of outcomes. And these were mostly quarter by quarter, not over the full 2 years of the study. But every quarter, anti-anxiety medications went down by 17%, or antidepressants by 9% per quarter, and the rest. So, days on medications was reduced by 30% there. Pretty exciting. Okay, so music facilitates connections and relationships. This is just a huge takeaway we can't, emphasize enough. So, and it's not a matter of any one intervention. Oh, I got music through, this one way. I go to a live concert, once a month, and I'm getting my music. No, we want to be able to listen to music. We want to be able to make music. Look, we can sing, we can hum, as many of us do now, right? We want to listen to music by ourselves or with others. We want to dance, and dancing is very powerful for dementia prevention. Research was done on this because of the touch, the social aspect, the movement, the music itself. All these things come together with certain types of music. And there are smart speakers and such. We're going to talk about that. Here are examples of what are the sort of, what's the model for an Alzheimer's organization to be doing? And, this is an example on the left-hand side. This is North Carolina, the Alzheimer's entity for the state. And they'll set up anybody who calls them and says, the family calls and says, my loved one has dementia, and can you help us set up a music player for us to have with their music on it? And they'll do that. And they do this. They've done it through the pandemic via Zoom, and they test it out with each song they pick with the person via Zoom to see that it's really the right music, that they're reacting to every song. If they're not reacting to a song, it comes off. And on the right is from the website of the Alzheimer's Society of Toronto, Canada. The number is over 9,000 now. That's how many they've given out since I helped them set up in like 2012. And 90% of the Devices they send out go to people at home. The other 10% go to wherever they live, if they're in a hospital or whatever. So let's talk about, I'm going to take about 20 minutes to 15 minutes to talk about um, connect, how do you make this happen? And then we'll take questions or interrupt me if you want on the questions. Um, so giving voice, define music through dementia, just like Encore. There are just many um, exciting efforts going on. And Encore is a leader, and Giving Voices in Minneapolis, in Minnesota. And dementia choirs in general promote social bonding, reduce isolation, stimulates memory and language, and much of this you're familiar with, perhaps. So, a plan of action: learn what artists and songs they love, set up the music access that'll really work, plan frequency of music access, make sure someone's responsible for success, check in to make sure everything is going according to plan. So, there is an approach to take. We first and foremost is learning what artists do people love. If we learn what artists they love, then we'll be able to figure out the songs. And we need to become sort of a music detective. Focus on favorites when people were 10 to 20 years old. Just use the person's true favorites. Discovery takes time. Everyone benefits from a carefully selected playlist. And this is an interesting graph which shows somebody did asked to take a look at listening patterns of older folks, and Spotify gave them their data, and they found that people who were older listened most to the music from when they were between 10 and 14 or 15 years old. And that's an interesting statistic because you wouldn't really think that necessarily, but it may have to do with just people coming of age and hormones starting to go, and our memories, our long-term memories are good with these first experiences with friends and such, and activities we do. And so we tend to like that most. It doesn't mean we don't want to listen to songs when we're older. They found also that people listen to music from when they were 20 half as much as they did when they were 10 to 14. Music detective tips, we're going to take a look at. You can use a music assessment questionnaire. It's included. I'm going to show you in a second what that looks like. And you can have a song sampler list to make it easy for people to remember. It's quality, not quantity. And you don't want to have, if somebody loves Elvis, you don't want to give them 100 Elvis songs. You want to really just take a few songs per artist and vary it up. So, questions you'd want to ask, what music did you listen to when you were young? Who was your favorite singer, group, band, or orchestra? Favorite hymns or other religious music? Did you enjoy going to Broadway shows or musicals? Do you like to dance? What type of dance? What songs did you dance to at your wedding? Senior prom, was there a band? What kind of music? Do you have any CDs or old record players sitting around? Can you hum any of your favorite songs? And so here by category, a sample song list. We have it divided here by easy listening or country and western, spiritual, R&B, Broadway, classical, Spanish, rock. And then you can add, doesn't have everything, of course, so you add other things you think of to the list. What if people can't tell you what music they love? So we need to, I'll go back to that. So we need to talk to their family members. We need to maybe send a teenage relative out to visit, the sibling of the person that we're trying to set up music to, and ask, well, did you go to any live concerts? Did you have, what records did you listen to? Did you dance? What did you dance to? Just try to find out from others. And the ideal playlist, favorite songs from original artists, aiming for more than 150. Songs that are easy to access, and updated so we don't have repetition. And songs connected with life memories is really key. So we want to have songs we love, have context. What is that? Let's figure that out. How best to pose questions that are comfortable answering for people. And then mix it up. We watch it looking at family photos while listening to music, um, and learning what stories are associated with a song. And so this way they can remind us, or when they're no longer able to remember the memory associated with the song, then we can say, this was a song that, you first dated your, husband or wife, and sometimes that will prompt people. So here's sort of a graph of what you might end up with. And just on the left-hand column, sort of the period in their life, and then fill in what was an event that stands out or that we know of, and what song goes with that, and why this song. And then here's a sort of empty template to use. Something I really like, that in some ways are easier to use than music players, are these smart speakers. I know some or many of you have one of these, and of course they require being connected and paying a monthly subscription fee to one of these music services. These three is the one on the left is an Apple, the one in the middle is an Alexa, the one on the right is Google, and those are the three major ones with the music um, um, streaming services underneath. But it's really cool. You can ask things, yes, you can ask to play a specific song or an album, play the Sound of Music original soundtrack or Les Mis or whatever. And but you can also ask, going back to that graph we saw with the 10 to 15 years old, go back to when I was 10 years old and play that year's best hits. And then all three of these should be able to do that. And that's a pretty cool way to do it. And play when I was 10 that year, play when I was 11, 12, and just go through and when you don't like a song, just tell it skip the song. But that's an easy way to get these things set up. So, music access, so many ways. Um, you know, the young people come in, they'll have their cell phone or tablet. I mean, it could be put on an iPad or an Android tablet. YouTube online, you can use that. There's a ton of music. It's all free. Playing an instrument, karaoke, singing in a group of any kind, and dance. We want to mix things up. Art and music go together, exercise and music, rehab and music, visits and music. Alive Inside, I would say, it is available to see for free on YouTube. It's a great movie to help. It's hard sometimes to convince people, and this is why I was fortunate enough to get this documentary made. The words don't work. Everybody's their own expert again, but this helps people understand both that people are still there, and that we can reach them, and there's hope. And here's how people use it, use the music for a great benefit. It's a good movie. I guarantee you'll like it. It rates really high in the world of any movie. And here we break up sort of what happens sometimes is people have their music at home, and then their loved one goes to assisted living or a nursing home or a hospital, and the music's at home, right? And doesn't go with them. And so we want to have music, whatever we do, somehow have it portable, or at least a list of songs that are favorites ready to go. Just the way when somebody's sent from a hospital to a nursing home or to home, they're always sent with a list of the medications. Wouldn't it be great for us to make sure that the music list goes along with that, and that could be sort of pinned up on the wall, so that anybody that comes in can pull out their phone. If the doctor in there for 10 minutes and they're gonna be causing pain, well, maybe they could put a song on, and that might help get through that with that distraction and that sort of that approach. And I've seen it happen. People go in, the music works for them at home. This mother-daughter combination. This was in Toronto, and the 5 years at home, the music worked. Mom had to go to a nursing home, and said, "Here's mom's music and everything. Play it, please. Twice a day." And And they said, no, we don't do that here, right? So we have to state our case that this is good for my loved one, and make it happen because we're in the right. This is a good thing. They wouldn't say, no, we don't use that medication here, right? That just not a thing. Okay. This testimonials, I'm not going to do that now, and that's it. So I'm going to stop there, and we have time for questions.
Yes, we've got about 20 minutes for questions. So if there's a couple things in the chat, let me run through those. There weren't any questions, but a couple of nice comments. Beth said, listening to pop music with a transistor radio under your pillow. From my home in Nebraska, I could ride the skip and hear stations in Chicago and Oklahoma City.
Ride the skip. I like that.
A couple people, Barbara and a couple of other people, mentioned watching your documentary and how excellent and impactful that was for them. A couple of the ways people get their music. One person mentioned Sirius music stations, CDs and radio. I know you were talking about how we get bored with repetitive songs. That's one thing that I hate about pop radio. When I used to work in the mall, and it was like you'd have a 6-hour shift in the mall and you'd hear the same 6 songs over and over again. It did not make the time go quickly. So we got a lot of people that are using Spotify and Apple Music and some of the things that you mentioned. Are there other questions? Feel free to raise your hand or unmute if you're not a fan of the chat.
Oh, I know there are questions out there.
This isn't so much a question, but I was in the hospital last week and had a couple of procedures done. And in the operating rooms, the doctors and nurses had their favorite music on. Michael Jackson. And it actually made me feel kind of good when I was laying there on the table, unable to move, to know that they were having less stress because of the music that was playing.
Well, that is literally thousands of surgeons now have their own music. And of course, that's led them to understand that it's good for the person who is going under to have their own music. And there's actually there's an organization that specializes in doing music for people when they're unconscious in surgery. And her stuff is all over, and she does special playlists because when you're unconscious, you're not really listening to the beat, and you don't want to be distracted by lyrics. So, so it sort of is non-lyric, certain types of music that she's sort of put together that works well when you're under. Okay, so, which is different than enjoying the Michael Jackson, right? Obviously, but it's a thing. And so I'm glad you at least enjoyed the Michael Jackson while you were still conscious.
I'm sorry for that phone ringing, but I wanted to say that I made the comment that the artists don't get paid very much for that Spotify and Apple Music and so forth. Like one artist told me they get 1/24 of a cent every time you play the music. So my response and my reaction is play it a lot. But I have it going a lot of the time, all day, and I have I woke up to music this morning, as I do oftentimes, to wake me up, get me going a little bit. And I have a friend I met in my community before I got into the nursing home. I was in a 55 and over community, and I never would have known that his favorite music was Wagner.
Hmm.
Had I not asked. So it's the importance of asking. You know, you don't know. You don't know about people's taste in music.
And it's like a fingerprint. Everybody's playlist is different. Even
Yeah.
people coming from the same town with the same background, because I did that once in a day program. Everybody sort of seemed, sort of similar demographics. And so maybe a one third of the list was they like the same, like polka, whatever, and but everything else changed because their parents came from two, different places, or somebody from out of another country, and so it really it varied it up all the time.
Yeah.
Good. Cynthia said, music is good for people who don't have dementia as well. I use it daily to deal with pain, stress, tinnitus, help to go to sleep at night, or for treatments at the doctor's office. I know whenever my mom went for an MRI, she always had her sleep mask because she didn't want to see it, and she had her headphones to listen to something so she didn't have to listen to all the clanging and banging.
No, absolutely. This applies to all of us all the time. I was delighted to first read, and it was in the sort of the flyer that Marianne sent out, was, two-thirds of Americans will say that music's really important to their mental health and well-being, right? So, I mean, that's a pretty big number, right? And so that doesn't change, as you get older. And I think only 3, 4, or 5% of people have no sort of reaction. It's almost like a different kind of brain operation, have no reaction to music, but everybody else does. And it's just a matter of where on the scale we are. Some people can't live without it. Some people, oh, it's nice, oh, it's good, it's a wedding, I'll get up and dance and enjoy myself kind of thing. But I think when you really narrow down and you sort of raise your own bar on what you want to listen to, so find that music that you really love every time, not settle for it. Because look, remember driving a car and you had the buttons and you keep going for a button where you had music you liked. For those of you who are, familiar with that. And today even, now Sirius, I agree with the person who talked about Sirius radio. I listen to the 60s channel all the time. I go between 60s. If they're playing something I don't want to hear, I go to the Beatles. I just bounce back and forth there. I'm a happy camper, right? So, and it's also a matter of telling our kids, our family members, what music they should know what you like. Because one time we were showing a Live Inside in North Carolina in a theater, and the first 2 rows were all people from the local assisted living community. And after the movie, a couple of weeks later, I got feedback from the person that helped set the field trip up to the movies, and the general sentiment was, "Hey, I don't want anybody giving me, sort of lousy music if I'm no longer able to control the straw. So I want to make my playlist up, now and here, and make sure that people know that, because people don't. I didn't even talk about when I've done this with groups of people, and I say, pair off one to one, even with a family member, and just come up in your own mind with your favorite, one particular genre, list 5 of your favorite artists within that genre, and then just tell your family member also who knows you well theoretically, and say, this genre I love. Name my top favorite musicians or groups, and see how many they guess. Right? And my guess is they might pop off 1 or 2 really quick, and the rest might be hard. And so how are they going to come to 150 songs, right? They're not gonna. Even for us, it's hard to. If I said, start writing your list of favorite music now, or your favorite groups, well, we'll start really quickly with the ones we come to mind, but then, oh, I know I'd slow down fast, and I just wouldn't remember them, right? So that's why we want to help while we're able to put together our playlists. I mean, I have a playlist. My wife, my kids know where they are, and so I'm not worried about that. right? I mean, it could be a stroke that happens, you just don't know about tomorrow. And so it's good for people to be aware. And so that way you have it yourself. And if you have access to those songs, when I go walking or something, I'm putting on, either Sirius or I'm putting on Apple Music or playlist or, something. Time goes quicker.
Mhm.
I'd just like to say, I think that's very important what you just touched upon. Because I know with my music, I have more than 150 songs. We're real easy, but I do need to make those playlists. But more important than that is I'm so moody. I may want ABBA today, and then tomorrow I only want classical instrumental. I mean, it's so specific, so I'm really nervous about making sure that I receive the right playlist at the right time. So
Mhm.
I need to give a lot of directives on this.
Well, it's really a good point, and I accept the concern. I mean, the right music at the right time, in the right way, right? So put it down as best you can. You'll be happy. I'm hoping that when it comes, because if you've been separated from the music, or if our conditions change, I think our appreciation changes even more, a little bit more. Um, Going from maybe no access because of, hard time or something to getting access again, maybe. I don't really know. But we just can do our best and hope for the best and tell the kids, well, change it up once in a while. Watch for my reaction. That's how they're going to know. They watch. It's not like, oh, here it is, mom, and you're off and running. No. Um, and look from day to day. If I'm not enjoying, ABBA today, then, no ABBA today. Um, I mean, I've changed somebody's playlist after 6 months. They seem bored with some of the songs. I just pull them off, save them in another spot so I don't forget them one day. And this was a woman who didn't have dementia. She was in the nursing home for heart issues. And she, actually she was missing Sunday service at church, and she was missing her music. So two different playlists of both of those, and then sent her home with everything. And she was a happy camper. So everybody's different. And I took off a bunch of songs, I added them back. So that was the process.
Yeah. Lots of other comments in the chat. Um, Margaret said, music is a wonderful way to access feelings. I used to take music to nursing homes, and people are able to get emotional if they're not overly sedated. Very true. Pauline's going to start her own collection of music now. Margaret also said, we found country music helped my husband with Parkinson's sing out loud when most of the time his speaking was hardly audible. Yeah, that's a big challenge with Parkinson's. Is it's not just the motor, but it has a big effect on the voice. Yeah. Cynthia said she put a note in her advance directive that I want my caregivers to play music for me, and I specified my favorite kinds of music and artists.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yep. And Mike wants to know, do they play Weird Al's parody song "Eat It" in nursing homes to help improve appetites?
Very good. I don't know the answer, but it sounds like you're thinking. Yeah, thinking ahead.
All right. Any other questions or sharing? These are great comments about how you've had experience.
I haven't heard that Weird Al song yet, and the assisted living I live in. But I have a suggestion for a song for going to sleep. It's Another Day by Carrie Newcomer. I would type it in the chat, but I don't type very fast. So.
I can put that in the chat for you. I love Carrie Newcomer.
Okay, great. It's Another Day.
Got it.
There we go. Thank you, Richard. All right. Any other thoughts?
So now you're all sort of officially deputized. Because there's no downside to this. So when you recommend it, as I said, it doesn't work all the time with everybody. If we can't figure out what someone likes, we're not going to be successful. or nearly successful. But if we can, and we learn from people when they're still able to tell us pretty much, that's the big win. And Alive Inside is helpful for people that are like, I had a relative and it was terrible. They just didn't do anything. They just hid the disease. Like, I mean, and Alive Inside, let people see the movie to understand what we're talking about with the music, because we can say it's great, but when they watch the movie, which is 78 minutes long, it's not long, then they'll understand and they're more likely to take action, which will help improve their own family members' quality of life and make life easier for them in the process. So, it's a double win. And that to me is what this is all about.
Well, thank you so much, Dan, for being with us tonight. There's lots of thank yous going on in the chat about your important work, and to introduce it to us and anybody who was not aware of it before. So thank you so much for being with us, and thank you to all of you that joined us this evening. Give us a week and we'll have the replay up on the web page. If you want to come back and watch it again, or you want to direct somebody else to it, it lives on the Arts and Health webpage on encorecreativity.org. So thanks again, Dan. Round of applause for him. And have a wonderful night. And think about that desert. We used to call it the desert island list. What music would you want if you were deserted on an island? And get your playlists together. So thank you so much, Dan.
Thank you, everybody.
One last question,
Yes.
if I may.
Oh yeah, Pauline.
If I want to share this this recording that we this past hour with someone who's not a member of Encore Creativity, if they go on and don't log in, will they be able to see it?
Yeah, it's on our main public page. It's not on the singer's page. It's on our main page under the Arts and Health.
Wonderful.
Yep. Just go to the master classes and it'll be there. Give Ryan the rest of the week to get it edited and put up there. But yeah, it should be up there by next week. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful night. See you again soon.
Bye-bye.